Ladies, let me explain something that may sound confusing at first, but if you really listen carefully, you will begin to understand the deeper meaning behind it. Sometimes when a man truly and deeply loves a woman, he disappears for a while. Now I know that sounds strange because most people believe love should always look like closeness, communication, attention, and constant presence. We are taught that when someone loves you, they stay near you. They call, they text, they check on you, and they make their feelings obvious every single day. And honestly, in a perfect world, that is exactly how love should work. But real life is not always perfect, and love does not always move in simple or predictable ways. Sometimes a man who truly cares about you takes a step back, not because he stopped loving you, but because the love became serious enough to shake him deeply inside. Men often deal with emotions very differently than women do. When women feel pain, confusion, fear, or uncertainty, they usually want to talk about it, understand it, and emotionally connect through it. Men are often the opposite. Many men have been raised to stay quiet about their struggles. From childhood, they are told to stay strong, avoid showing weakness, and handle problems alone. So when something emotionally powerful enters their life, especially real love, they do not always know how to respond in a healthy or open way. Instead of speaking about what they feel, they retreat into themselves. They go silent. They pull away from the world around them while trying to understand what is happening inside their heart and mind. That silence can feel painful to the woman who loves him, but for many men, it is the only way they know how to process overwhelming emotions. When a man truly falls in love with a woman who brings him peace, comfort, joy, and a sense of purpose, it can completely change the way he sees himself and his future. Suddenly, he's no longer thinking only about today. He begins thinking about tomorrow, commitment, responsibility, stability, and the type of man he wants to become. Real love forces a man to look at himself honestly. It makes him notice the areas of his life that still need healing. He starts recognizing his weaknesses, his fears, his emotional wounds, his financial struggles, and the parts of himself he normally hides from the world. And sometimes that realization becomes so heavy that instead of moving closer, he moves away for a while. Not because your love means nothing to him, but because it means too much. A man who genuinely loves you does not want to bring chaos into your life. He does not want to stand beside you while feeling incomplete inside himself. He wants to feel worthy of your love. He wants to feel capable of protecting your heart, supporting your dreams, and giving you the stability you deserve. So if he feels emotionally broken, financially unstable, spiritually lost, or mentally exhausted, he may disappear for a period of time to deal with those battles privately. In his mind, he believes he is protecting you from the worst parts of himself. He believes stepping away is better than staying and damaging the relationship with confusion, inconsistency, or emotional immaturity. It may not always be the healthiest choice, but many men truly believe they are doing the right thing by creating distance while they try to rebuild themselves. You have to understand that many men carry a deep pressure inside them. Society teaches men that their value comes from what they can provide, protect, and accomplish. A man is often taught that he must always have answers, strength, and control. So when he falls in love but feels uncertain about his own life, he can begin feeling like a failure before the relationship even fully begins. He may love you deeply but still believe he is not enough for you. That fear creates silence. That fear creates distance. That fear causes him to disappear into himself while he tries to become the version of himself he believes you deserve. He is not always running away from love. Sometimes he's running toward growth, healing, and self-understanding, even if his way of doing it causes pain. Now this is where the difference between boys and real men becomes very clear. Some men disappear because they are simply avoiding responsibility. Some men leave because they are emotionally unavailable, dishonest, immature, or afraid of commitment. Those men often never return because the connection was not as deep for them as it was for you. They may have enjoyed the attention, the comfort, or the excitement, but they were never truly prepared to build something meaningful. But a man who sincerely loves you does not disappear because he wants to abandon you forever. He disappears because he knows he needs to grow. He takes time to face himself honestly. He works on becoming stronger emotionally, mentally, financially, or spiritually. And when that man returns, his actions will speak clearly. You will not need to beg for explanations or chase him for clarity. He will come back with honesty, accountability, effort, and intention. Still, it is important to understand something very clearly. Just because a man disappears while trying to figure himself out does not mean you should stop your own life and wait endlessly for him to return. Your life matters too. Your growth matters too. Your happiness, dreams, peace, and future should never be placed on hold because someone else is struggling internally. Keep building your life. Keep becoming stronger, wiser, and happier. Keep loving yourself. Keep moving forward. If the connection is truly meant to survive, then he will return and meet the stronger version of you that continued growing during his absence. Real love should never require you to abandon yourself while waiting for someone else to heal. It is painful when someone you deeply care about suddenly becomes distant. It creates confusion inside your heart. You begin asking yourself difficult questions. Was the love real? Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Why would someone who cared about me suddenly disappear? Those questions can become emotionally exhausting because human beings naturally search for explanations when they experience loss or uncertainty. But sometimes the truth is not that the love was fake. Sometimes the truth is that the love became too real. The intensity of genuine connection forced him to confront emotions, responsibilities, and fears he had spent years avoiding. Love can expose wounds people do not even realize they still carry. And for some men, that emotional exposure becomes terrifying. When a man experiences a love that feels life-changing, he often begins imagining a future he never seriously considered before. He starts seeing possibilities beyond temporary pleasure or casual relationships. He begins thinking about commitment, partnership, emotional responsibility, and long-term stability. But if his current reality does not match the future he suddenly wants, internal conflict begins growing inside him. He may realize he still has unresolved trauma, unhealthy habits, financial instability, emotional immaturity, or personal goals he has ignored for years. Instead of bringing those struggles directly into the relationship, he pulls away to deal with them privately. Again, this does not always make the pain easier for the woman experiencing the distance, but understanding the emotional reason behind it can bring some clarity. Sometimes a man meets a woman who inspires him without even trying. She does not force him to change or pressure him to become someone different. Her energy alone inspires growth. The way she carries herself, the way she loves, the way she respects herself, and the peace she brings into his life makes him want to become a better man naturally. Those types of connections are rare. And when a man realizes he has encountered that kind of woman, while still feeling unfinished inside himself, fear can appear very quickly. He may begin questioning whether he is capable of maintaining something so valuable. Instead of risking failure, he steps away temporarily to rebuild himself. Strange as it sounds, sometimes distance is created because the feelings are too serious, not because they are meaningless. Women often express love by becoming closer emotionally. They communicate, nurture, and seek connection during difficult moments. Men frequently do the opposite. Many men handle emotional pressure through silence and isolation. They withdraw into their own thoughts while trying to regain control of their emotions. This difference between masculine and feminine emotional processing creates many misunderstandings in relationships. A woman may see distance and assume rejection, while the man may see his distance as necessary self-reflection. Neither side fully understands the other in that moment, which is why communication becomes so important in healthy relationships. At the same time, disappearing should never become an excuse for unhealthy behavior. Love still requires communication, honesty, effort, and emotional responsibility. Growth is important, but so is respect. If a man truly values you, eventually he will communicate clearly instead of leaving you trapped in endless confusion. Real love grows through actions, not only feelings. A mature man understands that disappearing without explanation can damage trust deeply. So when he returns with clarity. He explains what happened inside him. He takes responsibility for the pain his silence caused. He does not expect you to simply accept everything without accountability. He shows through consistent behavior that he has truly changed and grown. And during the time he is away, something important also happens inside you. You begin learning more about yourself. You begin understanding your own standards, needs, and emotional boundaries more clearly. You stop asking only why someone left and start asking whether they are truly capable of loving you the way you deserve to be loved. That shift changes everything. Instead of chasing validation, you begin valuing peace. Instead of begging for consistency, you begin requiring it naturally. His disappearance teaches you things about your own worth that you may never have discovered otherwise. Pain has a way of creating wisdom when people allow themselves to grow through it instead of becoming bitter. A man's disappearance does not always mean the end of the story. Sometimes it is part of the process that prepares both people for a healthier connection later, but it only matters if real growth takes place. Empty silence without accountability means nothing. Promises without action mean nothing. True love is not measured by emotional speeches or temporary feelings. It is measured by effort, consistency, honesty, and growth. If he returns as the same confused, unavailable, emotionally distant person he was before, then nothing truly changed. But if he returns stronger, wiser, more open, more stable, and more intentional, then the distance may have served a purpose after all. Real men return with clarity. Real men return with honesty. Real men return with effort. They do not expect you to carry the relationship alone. They do not leave you constantly guessing about your place in their life. They communicate directly. They build trust through actions. They create emotional safety instead of confusion. And if a man truly loves you, eventually his actions will match his words in a way that leaves no room for doubt. That is the difference between temporary emotions and genuine, mature love. One of the hardest experiences for a woman is feeling deeply connected to a man and then suddenly feeling his energy change without warning. Everything may have seemed beautiful in the beginning. The conversations felt meaningful. The connection felt genuine. The chemistry felt natural and effortless. He made you feel seen, valued, understood, and emotionally safe. Then slowly or suddenly things changed. The messages became shorter. The calls became less frequent. The emotional closeness faded, and the confusion began growing inside your heart. You replay every conversation trying to understand where things shifted. But often the shift started inside him long before it became visible to you. Love has a strange way of exposing people to themselves. It reveals emotional wounds that distractions normally keep hidden. A man may go years avoiding vulnerability, focusing only on work, goals, entertainment, or temporary relationships. Then suddenly he meets someone who touches his heart deeply enough to break through those emotional walls. That experience can feel beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He realizes this woman has the power to affect him emotionally in ways nobody else has before. And if he has not learned how to handle vulnerability in a healthy way, his natural instinct may be to retreat and regain emotional control before he feels completely exposed. Sometimes his silence is not about losing feelings. Sometimes it is about feeling too much at once. He may love you deeply, but still feel overwhelmed by everything that comes with serious love. Commitment requires emotional maturity. Partnership requires consistency. Building a future with someone requires honesty, sacrifice, communication, patience, and stability. If he feels unprepared for those responsibilities, fear begins growing inside him. Not fear of you specifically, but fear of failing the relationship, failing himself, or hurting the person he genuinely cares about. Instead of openly admitting those fears, many men disappear quietly while trying to sort themselves out internally. Now, let's not confuse this with the actions of a man who disappears simply because he is selfish, emotionally careless, or immature. There are many men in this world who walk into someone's life with no real intention of staying. They come looking for attention, excitement, validation, temporary comfort, or an ego boost. They enjoy the affection while it benefits them, but once the excitement fades or the situation becomes serious, they leave without explanation and never look back. That is not love. That is emotional manipulation disguised as connection. A man like that does not disappear because he cares too deeply. He disappears because he never planned to build anything meaningful in the first place. Real love and emotional games may sometimes look similar at the beginning, but eventually the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Sometimes when a man truly loves a woman, he creates distance not because he wants to lose her, but because he feels unprepared for the kind of love she gives. He may be struggling with personal battles, emotional wounds, financial pressure, or fears that he is not yet capable of loving her the right way. Instead of bringing his pain and confusion into the relationship, he steps back to face those struggles alone. To many women, that silence feels confusing because love is expected to bring people closer, not farther apart. But for some men, distance feels like protection. They believe it is better to step away temporarily than risk hurting someone they deeply care about while they are still emotionally unstable or unsure of themselves. You should never stop your life waiting for someone to finally decide your worth. A woman deserves love that is consistent, honest, emotionally clear, and present. If a man disappears to figure himself out, let him take that space, but never pause your own growth while he does. Keep healing, building your future, and becoming stronger emotionally and mentally. Sometimes distance gives you clarity that love could not. It helps you see the relationship more honestly, recognize where you accepted inconsistency, and understand what kind of love you truly deserve. Painful absence can teach lessons that comfort never could, and often it opens your eyes to patterns you should never settle for again. Sometimes a man pulls away not because the love was fake, but because the connection became deeper than he knew how to handle. Real love forces people to confront their fears, insecurities, emotional wounds, and the gap between who they are and who they want to become. Many men were never taught how to communicate emotional struggles properly, so instead of expressing fear and vulnerability, they retreat into silence. But real love only matters if it returns transformed. If he comes back with honesty, growth, accountability, and emotional maturity, then the distance had meaning. If he returns unchanged, then it was not growth, only avoidance. And while he is gone, your responsibility remains the same. Protect your peace, know your value, and never let someone's emotional confusion make you question your worth. In the end, love is not only about feelings. It is about growth, emotional maturity, honesty, and consistency. Sometimes a man may pull away because the connection becomes deeper than he knows how to handle, and he realizes he still has personal battles he needs to face within himself. But distance only has meaning if it leads to real change. True love does not stay lost in confusion forever. It eventually returns with clarity, accountability, effort, and the willingness to build something healthy and lasting. At the same time, no woman should put her life on hold waiting for someone to become ready. Your value does not decrease because someone else is struggling emotionally. Real love should bring peace, communication, trust, and emotional safety, not constant uncertainty. If someone truly loves you, their actions will eventually reflect that love clearly. And if they cannot show up with growth, consistency, and respect, then their absence may have been the lesson that helped you recognize the kind of love you truly deserve moving forward.